All right. So back from break, are you entertained? What you been watching?
Yeah, then this shit is crazy, man. During my travels on the plane, you know how they have those movies that are in flight?
Yes.
So one of the movies that I started watching was the first Lethal Weapon. And after watching the first Lethal Weapon, I've become fascinated with rewatching all of the Lethal Weapons. So I've been watching all of the Lethal
So how's
Weapons.
that going? What, talk to me about it, because I have over the course of 80s and 90s watched all the Lethal Weapons, but it's been at least 15 years, if not longer, since I've seen any one of them.
I love that shit, man. Yesterday I watched
did it
Lethal
do for
Weapon. Last night I watched Lethal Weapon 4 with Jet Li. Woo! Jet Li was a bad boy in Lethal Weapon 4, man. Oh my God. You know, the whole time watching the movie at the end, in the final fight scene, where it's Mel Gibson and Danny Glover's characters against Jet Li, the whole time I'm thinking, man, Jet Li would beat their ass.
Yeah, in real life.
There's no way these two old men could take out
in
Jet
real
Li.
life.
Yep. That one is the one where they introduced Chris Rock into it too. You know, most sequels get worse and worse. Something about Lethal Weapon, they were able to either be just as good as the first one, or even get better as time went along. So I really appreciate that part of it. And, you know, I enjoyed the friendship between, you know, the white guy and the black guy. It gives me hope for America. Like, we could get here. We could get here. We can get here.
I'm an optimistic person.
Very optimistic.
I hope we get there. You know, a lot of conversation, whether or not it's in our lifetime and not, you know, I think a collective, that can be a lifetime conversation. But I just take getting along in my little microcosm when I go to the restaurant, when I go to the grocery store, when I go to wherever, just being able to vibe, connect, get along, and realize that, yes, we look different. Yeah, our backgrounds are different, but we just people. We just people.
All right. All part of the human.
So how many lethal weapons? How many lethal weapons are there?
I'm not sure if it's 4 or 5, man, but there's a 5th one. I'm about to watch it this week.
Find it. Okay.
So I could finish it off.
So I don't know if you even know this, but I tend to watch a lot of Discovery Channel, National Geographic animal shows. I'm big into the animal stuff. The BBC is my top notch, because the guy, I can never say his name right, so I don't want to butcher it, but the primary narrator for the BBC animal documentaries, I love his voice and the way they do their productions. But I'll watch others, and so I've been watching National Geographic's Secret of the Whales, and it's a series, and I've done 2 of them. But when I tell you the killer whale episode, which is the first one, completely blew my mind. Because, you know, you talk about in race and whatnot, blacks not being monolithic is not the same. And what this series showed is that not just that killer whales, orcas are brilliant. We've known that. We could talk about the torturous environment and the seaquariums and all that, but the fact that we are able to use them in that way speaks to their brilliance. But out in the wild, the things they do to raise their youth, the way they communicate, even the whole way they hunt. Like, I thought all killer whales had that technique where you see the water splashing and they jump out, they dive out and they grab the seal or something like that. Not all killer whales do it. You got the ones in the north, you got the ones in the south, you got ones by Australia, you got ones by Antarctica. It's a select group of whales. It's within this particular culture. And they documented the time that it takes, the time that they take to train their younger ones how to execute that technique. And basically, the way they define it in the series is that there's an elder, and in this case, female was the elder. And it was for her to pass it down the line of the other women in her family. And if something were to happen to her and she not provide that training, that technique, that skill would disappear forever. Now, the SEALs may not mind, but in terms of culture, how we attach ourselves to it as humans, what blew my mind is that whales, killer whales in particular, they had the same thing. And if something happens to the wrong whale, human influence in particular, it's lost forever.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. I just learned something about whales. I was listening intently.
Yeah.
I was listening very intently.
It's a good series. It's a good series. So I keep up with it.
Your nephew, my son, is an animal lover, dog. There's nothing he likes to do more than go to like the aquarium here in Atlanta. Oh my God. Like,
now that aquarium, it's beautiful.
It's a beautiful aquarium. I'm about to get season
facility,
passes for him, man, because
it is a beautiful facility.
He is an animal lover through and through, and he loves seeing the whales and the fish and the dolphins and the seals. It's like an obsession for him. He just loves it. So it's funny you say that. He would love to watch these shows with you.
Come on through. So, all right. So that's what you watch. What you've been listening to?
Man, I can't get over the R&B thing, man. You know, I was telling y'all before, during the holidays, I listened to a lot of R&B just to kind of wind down, slow it down a little bit. Recently, the R&B that's been playing in my tape deck is Anthony Hamilton, man. I always come back to Anthony Hamilton. Coming Where I'm From is one of my favorite albums ever.
Boom, 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 boom. Yeah.
That song where he called, what is it called? Where he talks about I'm a mess right now. I'm like, oh, he was going through it in this month. He was going through it. He just, to me, sings with such great emotion and passion, and you just feel it through the speaker. So shout out to Anthony Hamilton, man. I was lucky enough to see him live one time, Carlton, and you know, I'm always impressed when I see an artist live, whether rapper or singer, and they sound the same way they do in my car. You know, it's like their voice isn't
I've heard that about him.
It's not his voice is true. It's not enhanced by any technology. There's no stupid auto-tune. That's his voice on the CD. And when you go see him in person, he sounds just like the album. So just a great deal of respect for his talent and his singing ability. And whoever's writing those songs for him, if it's him or somebody else, kudos to you.
Yep. Now, I have not seen Anthony Hamilton live. I would love to. I know a few that have, and they said the same thing as you. His voice is authentic. His voice is pure. And when, like you said, that I have a lot of his albums, listen to a lot of his songs, and when he puts that extra something in it, you feel it in your bones. You feel it. You feel it. You feel what he's experiencing in that song. All right. So for me, I have been listening to our boy, your boy, my boy, Big Boi. You know, he got the new album out with Sleepy Brown, The Big Sleepover. Favorite tracks, I don't know yet. Sucker Free, maybe, but I know it got the stuff you could dance to, which I know you like. Got some thought-provoking stuff that he hasn't had as much on his individual albums, but the tracks in particular, the ones with Killer Mike, go hard.
I heard Killer Mike's like on four tracks in the album.
Yeah, they need to. I mean, Run the Jewels, Stay Together Forever, Killer Mike, do what you do. You know, from politics to hip hop. I mean, he's brilliant. But Big Boi, Killer Mike, they need to go ahead and just put an album together. I think that's from one of your top fans. Go ahead and do it. And so, Big Boi's birthday, mine's today. His is February 1st. And I recall on one of our episodes, top 10, top 5, y'all wouldn't let me take Outkast as one group, blah, blah, blah. And so we got into the discussion around Big Boi. right? And his role with the dynamic duo. And one of our other music circles, we all are Outkast fans, but I went back and got the tracks from their album. I didn't do Big Boi's individual albums or their features, but I went back to the original set of albums, Outkast, and listened to the tracks where Big Boi showed that he should be in everybody's top 10. All right. So if you remember the tracks, you'll feel me. Southern Playalistic, the set third track, Ain't No Thing But a Chicken Wing. Ain't no thing. He killed that. He killed that. He killed that. AT Aliens, AT Aliens, track 7, Over the Woods. He's on that first verse. He killed that. But then the Decatur songs, when he talk about I put 2 in the air to let them know I'm babysitting, that might be one of the best lines of hip hop all time. Just I put in 2 in the air just to let them know I'm babysitting. That to me epitomizes the creativity, but also the realness of Big Boi. All right, so that's what I gave you 3 songs, and then on Aquemini, that Skew It on the Barbie, I had to give a shout out to your boy Raekwon. Raekwon, he held not just held his own, because that wouldn't be the question, but him with the Wu-Tang style on the Southern track with the Southern rappers didn't know how that would merge. But Raekwon came through. They all 3 came through. Dre went hard, Big went hard. So I considered that one a draw. But the last track, Chunky, not the last track, but track 16, Chunky 5. Big killed it. Big killed it. And then I know your favorite, Liberation, is a true classic. That's a classic.
Liberation, you know this because you just mentioned Liberation is one of my favorite songs of all time. It's definitely top 5 song to me in hip hop. Outkast got a lot of my favorite songs of all time, man. You know, one of my other favorites from them is, especially as I'm getting older, up there in age. You know, I turned 40 this year. Carlton celebrating a birthday.
Growing old.
Yup, 13th floor, growing old.
Growing
you know,
old.
like
yeah,
like you talk about lines, Carlton. One of my favorite lines in that song is when he says, "Fridays are tight, but Saturday just makes them old." It's just like, that just, when you go through life and you're used to going out on the weekends when you're young, as you get older, you realize that, yeah, Friday was tight, but Saturday just makes it old. And them boys, man, are just like, just legends to me. Legends. It was heartbreaking that they didn't give us another album as a duo to me.
Well, they're not done yet. They still around.
But I don't think Andre 3000's heart is into it anymore. But when he does rap, did you hear the Donda song that they didn't release with him? Talk about murder in the track.
So I got one for you before I close out. So the last Big Boi, Stank on You, Miss Jackson. Look at the way he treats you. Look at the way he treats me. Look at the way you treat me. Blah, blah, blah. You and your girl ain't speaking no more because my et cetera, all in her mouth. Listen. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh, like 3000. He got the voice. He got the hook. He spit on the track. Like, it's a great song. Everybody loved that song. But when you talk about spitting athletically, so just riding the beats, content of your lyrics, what you say, and in the real rawness of how you say it, man, everything in that last verse on Miss Jackson, Big Boi killed. And so for me to bring it full circle, if we got to separate them, yeah, I take 3 stacks. But in no way, shape, or form am I going anywhere without Big Boi in my top 10. Now, whether he's 6, He not 10. Whether he's 6, 7, 8, I'd have to sit with it. We'll have to talk about it. But Big Boi be spitting.
I mean, I just think for Big
ahead.
Boi, I don't think you can take that away from him. I mean, he's a certified spitter now. Like there's no doubt about that. It's just like, and I also speak for our producer here. It's the guy that he's rhyming with is just, I mean, I was watching an interview with what's his name? With Bun B, Carlton. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about International Players Anthem, right? And the making of that song. And he was talking about Pimp C, how he laid down his verse. He was talking about himself, and he was talking about how crucial Big Boi was. But when he got to Andre 3000, the way his face lit up and was like, that dude, he was like, that dude's just different, man. Like, he was like, you asked me, I tell you, I'm a great MC. You know how I feel about Pimp. And he was like, Big Boi's a great MC. But he was like, that guy just has such a natural gift where it comes so easy for him. Like he was like, it was just so easy for him to spit what he spit. And that song to me is all time too.
Yeah, that's where so you read my mind, because in my listening journey, I did listen to the tracks that they featured on, not on their albums, but others. Walk It Out and International Players Anthem was in that list. And man, if there was a super group for me, it would be UGK and Outkast. Like that's my.
They had a great chemistry together combined. On tracks. Yep.
But 3 Stacks, the way he did his verse, the content of the topic that he's talking about was purely him. And then you follow
Tell him about how I told you that when you got married. I whispered that in your ear.
And then you follow him with Pimp C in his pureness. Bump, and he just hop in. And then Bun B with his rapping talent, real street stalker, to walk the green mile. Like he comes in and he spits, and then Big Boi just close it out with that realness. As Paul McCartney, the Lords couldn't stop me. And then he ended with, because you miscalculated the next to the last pump. Like, how else does it happen? How else will it happen?
Dumping them guts raw from the giddy.
How else will it happen? Right? Except a miscalculation from the last pump. So for everything that the song was, it ended it with some rawness, some realness that I thought featured everybody in their best light. So I would definitely like to check out that Bun B interview, because that song, song,
he's talking about that song.
Yeah. So all right. So before we close it out, what you been reading? Articles online, whatever.
I've been recently, man, I've been doing a lot of research on the history of Black coaches in NFL. That's what's got my interest peaked right now. I've been doing a lot of research too in Georgia. That's where I live, in Atlanta. I've been doing research on land and how land was accumulated back in the day. And for example, the headright system, Carlton, was a system that allowed only white males. If you were a white male, they were trying to increase the population of Georgia, right? And to incentivize people to move to Georgia, they would offer white males 200 acres of land on the house, Carlton. 200 acres of land. They'd give you 50 more acres for every family member you had. So if you had a wife and 2 kids, that's another 150. So 350 acres of free land. They give you 50 acres for every slave you own. If you own 10 slaves, that's another 500 acres. So what does that put us at right there, Carlton? 700, 750, 850 acres of free land. And you take this free land, right? And you get you some slaves and you got some free labor. Imagine, look at the head start that some people, because of the color of their skin, had in this country. They were able to accumulate 850. The maximum amount of land you could get was 1,000 acres. You could have got 1,000 acres of land for free, had free labor on that land, accumulated wealth that will provide for your families for generations, to the point where your families could still eat off of that today.
That's them bootstraps they'd like to talk about. Pull
yeah,
up your bootstraps.
You know, people talk about a head start. That's like me and you, right? Like, we're gonna race a car, and you have a Ferrari and I'm in a Kia. Like, that's beyond a head start, and it just shows to show you, like, the head start that white people had in this country. This is what I've been researching, if you ask me. And what did Black people get to pass down to their kids and future generations? They got to pass their kids what, into slavery?
Stress, a lot of stress.
Into slavery. And then people wonder why we need to have systems put into place to make this a more equitable society. I mean, just research the headright system and see who was available to and who had access to this land. And not only did they have this land, they had, like, the cotton gin gets built like during this time, right? Where these people are getting all this free land, which allows them to clean cotton much faster. And because they could clean cotton much faster, they wanted to pick more and more cotton, which led to a massive explosion of slavery. But what that also led to was they wanted to transport this cotton faster. So it led to the speeding up, the acceleration of building railroads in Georgia, because they wanted to get the cotton to places like Savannah, for instance, which became the second greatest exporter of cotton in the world during this time, because they wanted to make more and more and more money. And it's like, a young person that I have the privilege of teaching, he raised his hand and he said to me, he's like, this country was literally built on the backs of free labor.
Ding, 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 ding.
He was like, it was the slaves that allowed them to do these things that laid the foundation for what the country is today and everything that we have around us right now. And
did you give him a sticker? You give out stickers?
I don't give out stickers. I gave him I looked at him. I give out candy. But
what kind of candy you give out?
It used to be Jolly Ranchers, man, but because of the supply shortage, they haven't been having the Jolly Ranchers in stock. So that shit is starting to piss me off. Hey, just real quick, since you got me on that, Joe Biden, stop fucking up. Like, people notice when their goods cost more. You're about to blow it for all Democrats. Chicken wings are up 26%. Gas is astronomically high.
Not the chicken. Gas is high.
I'm not telling you. Listen, America,
I watched the
I'm
gas
not
number
saying
change
it's Joe
while I was on the
Biden's
road.
fault, but people are going to blame leadership when this happens, and they're going to blame your party. Get the shit together. No one wants to pay $200 for their wings platter for the Super Bowl.
No, so, it ain't happening.
Just because we're up. But like, a young person could make that logical conclusion. And I was like, I can't argue with you, son. Like, I can't argue with that. It just shows, like, there's always been this massive inequality for people in this country, especially for white males. White males have had, they wouldn't let white women get it either. So white males have had a tremendous, advantage in this country. And that advantage continues to persist. And we really need to strive to make it more equitable for all people. All people deserve a shot at the American dream.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, so my read was The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. Shout out again to producer. He put me onto this. We had a little virtual book club going on. And what I really appreciate from this book, because it talks about, no pun intended, operating inside of our genius zone. There's a zone of incompetence, there's a zone of competence, and then there's the genius zone. And incompetence speaks for itself. It just means you're doing something that you're not good at. You're better off giving it to somebody else. But when I look at, say, my coaching practice and the people that I work with, and even where I have been throughout my professional career, that zone of competence is tricky because in that space, you're successful, you have a good paying job, you receive awards, accolades, recognition for the work that you do. The zone of competence isn't you not doing well, it's you not being the best you, which exists in your zone of genius. You and I haven't, we talk about our journey into as you as a teacher, me as an entrepreneur, but I don't get a lot into what my journey as a health administrator was. But for me, it represents what the book talked about. I was very competent. I was doing well enough, but I wasn't doing me. And when you're in a space where you're not doing you long enough, your life ends, whether it's physically or emotionally. You're not thriving, you're not happy, you're not flourishing, you're not giving your craft the best you can give, you're not giving your family the best that you can give, you're not giving you the best you can give. And so the book teaches and challenges us on how to enter and stay in that genius zone. Because in this space, you're doing something that you're passionate about, you're living well, you're eating well, you're not doing those things that ultimately disrupt your life. You're not doing things for other people, you're not doing things for the company. You're doing what you're doing for you. And others may benefit from it because our genius zone is unique to each individual. It's like our fingerprint. But it's finding your lane, finding your space that you can not just exist in, but that you can thrive in. So The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, definitely going to be something I read on a recurring basis.
Love it.
Let's Unsolicited Genius, The Big Leap, show you how you get into your genius zone. And on that, we'll take a break and be back to close out the show. Unsolicited Genius. All right, we're back. And so housekeeping, wherever we are, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, like if it's something to be liked, subscribe if it's something to be subscribed to, and follow us. That's how we grow our reach. It's how we grow our brand. And it's how we make sure what you are consistent listeners and podcast partakers enjoy. That's how we ensure that we're able to reach the masses. You see our sweatshirt, my sweatshirt today, Legacy Wear. Shout out to the Williams family. They are our brand sponsor, I guess if that's the way you say it. But the gear on the show, a lot of it will come from Legacy. So shout out to them for their love, for their support. You can get your Legacy Wear at www.legacywearus.com.
Can I give one shout out, Carlton?
Go ahead.
One shout out real quick. Congratulations to Nikki Fox, Miami-Dade County's Teacher of the Year. She is a wonderful young lady. She is definitely deserving of the honor, and I just wanted to shout her out for her tremendous accomplishment. Tremendous accomplishment.
For our followers, you've seen that we've had guests, so you know what we talk about: headline news, sports, what's hot in entertainment from our perspective. If you have thoughts you want to share, thoughts you want to have heard on our show, hit us up. We'll figure out a way to make it happen. We'll close the show out with Thoughts of Genius. And this episode, I want to give a shout out to Betty White. To know me is to know I am a huge, huge Golden Girls fan. I mean, like a baby has a bottle. I grew up watching the Golden Girls on my Saturdays. That's what I did. 227 Golden Girls. That was my life. And Betty White was the last of the Golden Girls, which we all know. But what I didn't connect with until she died was truly what gift she was, not just as an actress, not as an entertainer, but to the people that she encountered. Betty White made us feel good in the audience with the way she portrayed her roles. But when you hear what she did with Don Cheadle, what you hear she did back pre-civil rights, when you just hear about the human that she was in all aspects of her life, what that took me to is realizing that regardless of what's happening in our world, regardless of what's happening in your world, in your workplace, in your household, there is no reason you cannot be nice. You can have a bad day, you can have a bad moment, you can have space where you just don't want to be dealt with. That's fine, take it. Mo will tell you, I do it all the time. But as a person, as a human being, when it's available to you, be nice. Make somebody who doesn't know you feel a little better. The people who you live with, the people who you share space with. Is there something that you can do that uplifts their mood? Is there something you can say that helps get them through their day? You're not required to. So I'm not telling you to change who you are. I'm not telling anybody to go be what Betty White was. All I'm saying is, despite circumstance, being nice, being kind is always, always available to you. And the good news is that's what people will remember the most about you anyway. So on that, it's Unsolicited Genius. We thank y'all for rocking with us. Shout out to Joe Nitty, the producer. Love you to death. Our YouTube live. Thank you all who tuned in. We appreciate the comments. So much more to come. Mo, you got anything?
Shout out as always to our producer, Joe Nitty. Shout out to my wife who keeps walking behind me in this live.
Yeah, what up? What up, Killer Cam?
Rest in peace to Betty White, and to what Carlton was saying. You know, if y'all don't know anything about what she's done outside of being an entertainer, you should definitely research that. It'll be worth your time. People are dying, Carlton. Like,
it's all right. We still
it seems
here.
like, yep,
we
he always tells me that. But
we still here. We still here.
And rest in peace to Kobe. His anniversary of his passing was recent as well. So tell the people you know you love them, man. Tell the people you know you love them.
From Unsolicited Genius, thank you for being a friend. So good morning, good afternoon, good night. We'll catch you next time.
You are listening to Unsolicited Genius.